In this video, I would like to highlight the new SuperManipulator, which is something we've been working on for quite a while, and I haven't felt that it was ready for prime time until now. We're publishing the Alabeo Cessna 177, and while Alabeo is a sister company to Carenado that has, as of now, still mostly more simple planes, it gives us the opportunity, while developing Alabeo planes, to delve more in depth into some technologies that will be used for future Carenado and Alabeo planes. It gives us a bit of a chance to trailblaze in other areas. This video is also supposed to help you understand sort of the thinking behind the SuperManipulator, and I will also introduce some features of this plane that will find their way into future planes from both Carenado and Alabeo, but that'll be a little bit later on. Okay, so without further ado, the idea behind the SuperManipulator is to provide a new, intuitive, flexible manipulation system for X-Plane that involves using scroll wheel, using the familiar click or click and hold paradigm that is default to X-Plane, or using the click and drag, which has become quite popular with the wide range of payware and freeware airplanes. So we have, for instance, the knobs. The familiar way for X-Plane to handle this sort of thing is that you're able to click and click hold. That's what you can do with the SuperManipulator already. You can just think of the knob as having two click spots, one on the left and one on the right, or one at the top and one at the bottom, same diff. If you prefer to think of it as being click on the top side of the knob to increase the value and click on the bottom side to decrease the value, versus click on the right side to increase the value and click on the left side to decrease the value. It's kind of the same diff. You'll see the icon is a little different now. We have a mouse icon with clockwise arrow versus a counterclockwise arrow. That changes sort of depending on what you're dealing with here. If you're dealing with a linear throttle, then it changes to a linear arrow. But the idea is the same. You can click hold, and if you hold long enough, you will trigger a repeat in the command, and that'll allow you to quickly and easily and intuitively manipulate the control you're trying to control. And of course, scroll wheel is also still an option, both for the handles as well as for these knobs right here. What's new is that all of these are integrated into one package, and the icon is supposed to give you a bit of a immediate feedback on what's going on with the manipulation. So if you click hold and then decide, I'd rather drag, well, then you can drag. It changes to a style of dragging that is actually very intuitive. It's drag up and down for larger changes and drag left and right for more fine-tuned changes. So you have to drag more pixels left and right in order to achieve the same change in the value. This way of manipulating is especially useful when you're tuning radios. You can tune values quickly vertically, and then when you switch over to horizontal dragging, it allows you to fine-tune the value. The interesting thing about this is it's considered either or. So there's an algorithm that measures if you're dragging pixels more vertically than horizontally, it considers what you're doing to be a vertical drag. And you can see what the plugin is considering you doing by the red arrows that you see pointing up or down on the mouse icon. And if you drag left and right, then the arrows that point left and right are actually smaller, indicating that the steps you are affecting are actually smaller. And again, this one also supports scroll, and it also supports click. You can do individual clicks, and you can click hold to do faster increase or decrease of values. Another thing we started noticing was that some users were not able to reliably click and drag the manipulators, and we found out that one of the problems is that if you have Cinema Verite enabled, which I think the default shortcut for that is Shift-C, you'll notice that the camera sort of reacts to G-forces and movements and gives more the feel of a handheld camera. And what happens with that is that in the past you had the problem that the mouse cursor pixel count would interfere because of the movements and would cause sort of a difficulty in generating reliable movements for the manipulator. So the way we solve that is we sense whether the user has Cinema Verite enabled or not, and then whenever the user hovers over a SuperManipulator click spot, the Cinema Verite is temporarily disabled, and then as soon as the user moves away from the manipulator, it again enables. And this has as sort of a side effect that you'll see a little bit of jitter going on, But we hope that this initiative will serve to improve the experience for those of you who have Cinema Verite enabled. So moving forward, I hope this also really allows for a unified feel to all the future planes. And as time goes on, we might be able to continue improving on the concept. So that's where we're going with this. And now I'd like to just showcase some more goodies that we've packed into this particular plane, which will find their way also into future planes. This plane is interesting because it has two versions. It's a retractable gear version and the simple B version of the plane. So besides the regular C and O menus where we can adjust the familiar things like window reflections and instrument reflections, we have the control over fairings, which only actually work if you're flying the non-retractable gear version, because the retractable gear version obviously doesn't have fairings. But if you change the livery, then automatically it senses whether it's a retractable gear or non-retractable gear version of the plane. And it also adjusts the engine's horsepower and the flight dynamics to match the retractable gear version of the plane. You still also have the option of switching to retractable gear, but that option will just load up a default white livery. So the better way to choose which plane you want to fly is to select a livery. And the livery you choose also has a tail number, and that tail number is reflected on the dashboard. And you can also use your mouse to advance from one livery to the next. And you can see from the interior of the plane there's changes that give you cues as to whether you are inside of a retractable gear version or non-retractable gear version. As soon as you have the retractable gear version, first of all, you have the retract handle that shows up here, and second of all, the panel changes to exclude the carb temp, because the retractable version airplane is actually a fuel injected one and it doesn't have a carburetor to begin with. What else? Oh yes, okay, so the new scroll wheel manipulator has found its way into the 2D pop-up windows, which is really nice. You can now use your scroll wheel and the traditional click and drag method to pull the field of view and the volume. And what we've done now is we've synchronized the volume with the X-plane volume settings. So if you go to sound here, you can enable all sounds and see that the engine slider's volume will actually transfer its value over to the volume of the pop-up window. So that will carry over your settings and your preferences from one plane to the next. And similarly here we have a mute button, and this mute button affects the settings in the sound window of this button called All Sounds. So it's the same thing as pressing All Sounds here, except you don't have to pause the simulation. You can do this in real time while you're flying. And that is helpful for instance, if you're on the radio, if you're flying online and you're talking to the control tower or to other traffic and you want to lower the engine sounds, you can do that from here. And then of course you have the preset buttons here, and these are just simply a mirror of what's happening on the keypad. So if you'd prefer to press the keypad buttons to adjust the camera angles, that's fine. And you can also overwrite these very easily. If, for example, this isn't calibrated quite right to your taste, you just move the camera around a little bit and hit Control and the numpad that you had just pressed to get to this particular camera view, and it will recalibrate to that new snap point. And it will also affect then this, since this is just a reflection of the numpad in terms of the position of the cameras. So you can go ahead and customize that to your taste if you want. Of course you have as usual, the pilot door and co-pilot door changes the sound of the engine and allows you to hear the prop and engine sound coming from the outside. So that's pretty standard for all Carenado and Alabeo planes. This is a significant step forward in X-plane. This has not been done in this way before. Scroll wheel support is still in its infancy. There's a lot of other exciting stuff coming our way in X-plane, so I hope I can keep you up to date on all that stuff. Well, I hope you like this video, and share it with people that you think might benefit from understanding more the idea behind the SuperManipulators and might be looking into getting general aviation aircraft for X-plane. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.